Whatever the problem is, whether it's too simple or whether it's a very complex problem, we need solutions. But it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of patience, and it takes a lot of understanding to solve these problems. And sometimes it isn't even our fault, and we are in situations which are problematic. But whatever the situation, whatever the problem you're in, what if I told you there is a simple way that you can solve any problem that you face? Once you do this, you will definitely be able to solve any problem in your life, whatever the problem. Just accept responsibility. Responsibility means your ability to respond to any situation in life. Responsibility means to acknowledge that you're responsible not for the situation itself, but for the action that you're going to take in that particular situation. It doesn't mean that you're responsible for all the situations that you're in or all the problems that you're facing. You're choosing to fix the situation and to move in the direction of your desired results. Imagine if someone forced you to run a marathon in 5 hours or less, and if you didn't run that marathon within 5 hours, they do something horrible to you or your family. What choice do you have there? What would you do? You have no choice, but you have to run that marathon, right? And you do it not because you're happy to do it. You are under pressure and you will do it. But what if you ran the marathon because you wanted to? Because it's something you wanted to accomplish. Because it gives you joy. It gives you the sense of accomplishment. You trained for months. You run the marathon with all your friends and family waiting for you beyond that finish line, cheering you on when you reach that finish line. How does that make you feel? Both these situations have a lot of pain, a lot of struggle, a lot of stress, and you run the same 5 hours or the same distance, but the only difference is your willingness to do it. Your willingness to accept responsibility for whatever it is that you're doing. When you accept the responsibility for that pain that you're enduring, it gives you a sense of achievement, success, and the pride that comes with it. But when the so-called running is forced upon you, you didn't want to do it, but you had to do it to save someone or to save yourself. You felt like a victim there. You had no choice, but you had to do it even when you felt miserable. The same thing applies to our problems as well. When we accept responsibility for all the problems in our life, we take the necessary pain to solve that problem in a calculated, calm, and a strategic way. But when we feel like the victim and blame other people for our problems, it feels like you don't have anything to do with the problem or the situation, but you are in that situation because of someone else, and your focus will be on that someone but not on the problem itself, making you feel even more sorry for yourself instead of looking for solutions or looking for ways to manage that problem, and making you stay longer in that problem because you'll be waiting for the solution to show up instead of working on the solution. There was this man, his name was William Jones. He was born into a very rich and influential family, and he had a very happy family. But he had a lot of health problems. One of his eyes was blind, and he had a lot of spasms due to which he couldn't sit or stand, and he also had stomach issues which made him vomit a lot, and he couldn't stick to a particular diet. He couldn't even eat properly. All his life he had everything. He had access to money, the richest educational institutions, everything. But nothing really worked for him. He even dropped out of Harvard Medical School. And having failed at everything in life, he went on an expedition to Amazon forest with a group. And because of his health conditions, and he was attacked by smallpox, he had to stop in the middle of nowhere alone, and he had to return home, which would easily take him a few months. But finally he managed to return home, but his father was now even more disappointed with him because he was 30 years old with no job and nothing accomplished in his name, and he hasn't achieved anything at all in life. So he became depressed and he just kept to himself. And one night when he was reading philosophy lectures, he thought he would do an experiment with his life. He wrote in his diary that he would take responsibility for everything that happens to him for the next 1 year. 100% responsibility for the next 1 year, and meanwhile, he will work on changing his circumstances. If nothing improves in this 1 year, he decided to die. But magic happened. His life turned around. He became the father of American psychology. Yes, and he went on to teach at Harvard School, and he traveled a lot to give lectures all around the world. The one thing he called rebirth is the experiment to take complete responsibility for everything that happens to him. Now you must be thinking, sometimes even if it's not our fault, bad things do happen to us. How and why should I take responsibility for those things? Someone is going on a vacation and they ask you to look after their cat. If something happens to the cat because of its long-term illness on your watch, you are responsible, but it's not your fault. But when you hit someone with your car, you are both at fault and you are responsible too. And being responsible for something does not always mean that you are at fault. When something is not your fault and you don't have anything to do with it, but still you need to take responsibility for the feelings, your reaction, and your actions that you take related to that specific situations. What happens to us may not be our fault, but how we react to it, how we look at it, and how we choose to deal with it is definitely our responsibility. And when we take complete responsibility for everything in our lives, no matter who or what is responsible, we improve personally and we grow into a better person. We may not be able to control how people treat us or what happens to us, but we can definitely control how we respond to every situation, how we see every situation, what we choose to give importance to. Anything that happens to us can be good or bad depending on how we look at it. What are the values you're basing your judgments on? Are these values good or bad? You broke up with someone. You spent more than a year thinking about them, feeling bad, how they treated you, how they are unfair, and how life is unfair to you. It's not your fault. But taking responsibility of how you feel and understanding that you cannot control how other people feel about you or how other people treat you, but taking control of how you react to them will help you cope with such situations faster. When you cannot control a few things, working on what is under your control is the only best way forward. You can control how you see the situation, how you ignored all the red flags in the relationship just because you were in love. You gave that person more importance than yourself. When you look at the situation in a new light, you'll see things clearly for what they actually are, and this can help you start living your life in the present and doing what you need to improve yourself, to live happily. You're no longer the victim here, but you are the hero of your own life. The more we accept responsibility for our problems, the more powerful we become in dealing with our problems. When we take responsibility for our problems, we take control of how we respond and react to the situations. And finally, how we look at these problems and how we deal with them and come up with solutions. When we don't accept responsibility, we are always thinking about who did us wrong, who treated us a certain way, and who is responsible for all that is happening to us. But when we do, we accept that it's not our fault we are in that situation. But we can find a way out of it and we'll be able to happily or very boldly face any situations like that later in life. We start thinking clearly and focusing more on how to solve the problem rather than just playing the victim and blaming everything on someone else and feeling helpless. The more we accept responsibility, the more we have power to deal with these problems. When we do something and we find success or happiness in life, or we help someone get their share of success and happiness, we don't keep quiet. We tell everyone and we take credit for that success or the happiness because it's because of your own efforts that you're successful or your contributions made someone successful. You take complete credit for those things, right? But when it comes to our problems, we feel like a failure and the problems are not our fault or our responsibility because we think we are perfect. I wouldn't do something like that to someone or put someone in that kind of a situation. So we fail to take responsibility for our problems. Taking equal responsibility for your success and for your failure or problems will make you the master of your life. When you don't depend on someone for your success, Why do you want to depend on someone else to take credit for your problems? You cannot depend on someone else to solve your problems. Take the entire credit for coming up with solutions. Of course, we need people to help us along the way, but they cannot take the front seat and make all the decisions in solving your problems. Because when we take the responsibility for the problems in our life, whether created by others or whether created by you yourself, it helps you learn important lessons in life. It helps you become a stronger person. It helps you improve and grow as a person. Every problem does have a solution. It is just waiting there to be found. Become the Sherlock Holmes of your life. Take control over your problems and become the best version of yourself. So I hope in this video you understood any problem has a perfect solution, but you just need to find it. And what will help you find it is to take complete responsibility for any situation, whether it's your fault or not. I hope you did like this video. And if you did, please give it a big thumbs up and please do share it with your friends and family. And please also consider subscribing to my channel. I'll see you in this video right here. Until then, you take care.